Steven Spielberg is the highest-grossing director of all time. He's won 3 Oscars and been nominated for 19 more. He's directed countless blockbusters and some of the most iconic movies of all time. He's also been responsible for kicking off the careers of actors like Tom Hanks, Drew Barrymore, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Christian Bale. Billions of people have watched his films. Who hasn't seen one of this man's movies? But what most people do not know is that he made his first short film at the age of 12, landing a contract with Universal Studios only 10 years later. But those 10 years and his childhood proved to be some of the most challenging of his life. But that time period became the foundation for a career that has entertained the world. Steven Spielberg went from a shy, bullied child with dyslexia to an icon of the entertainment industry and has set the standard for movie excellence. So what is his story? How did Spielberg go from being a shy, bullied kid for his dyslexia and Jewish heritage to being a massive success? How did he rise to the top of the highly competitive Hollywood film industry to become a household name? And how did he create so many blockbuster movies that inspired generations? Hi, and welcome to our channel, where we look at famous figures and entrepreneurs and peel back the curtain of their achievements so we can learn the secrets of their success. If you like what you see, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring videos about the lives, successes, and lessons learned of some of the most famous business figures of our time. In this video, we'll follow Spielberg's journey. We'll look at his struggles and failures, discover the story behind his very first film, find out how he found his way into Universal Studios, and talk about some of his biggest hits. But best of all, we'll be lifting inspiration straight from the man himself so that we can make our own lives into masterpieces. Ready? Let's jump in. Steven Spielberg was born in Cincinnati in 1946 and then grew up in Arizona. His family was Orthodox Jewish. Spielberg found it hard to embrace his heritage, feeling ashamed of the way his family was perceived. He faced a lot of anti-Semitic bullying as a teenager. He said that in high school, he got smacked and kicked around, resulting in 2 bloody noses. Spielberg also struggled with reading and learned to read years after all his classmates, who bullied him relentlessly to the point where he dreaded going to school. He was not diagnosed with dyslexia until the age of 60 and still finds that it takes him twice as long as most people to read scripts. But in a recent interview he said, "Movies kind of saved me from the shame from being an outcast. From putting it on myself, from making it my burden when it wasn't." Isn't that incredible? As an adult, he can see that the shame he felt as a kid didn't belong to him. But as a kid, he had to contend with that shame. So what did he do? He threw himself into filmmaking. He made his first film when he was only 12. Using a camera that was sitting around the house, he staged a train wreck, carefully capturing it on film and creating his first piece of cinema. After that, he became obsessed with film and threw himself into honing his craft. Soon, he was enlisting classmates and neighborhood kids to take part in his work. His first feature film was a war movie called Escape to Nowhere, which won first prize in a statewide competition. He used his differences to his advantage and sought refuge in creation, which is a pretty incredible thing for a 12-year-old to do, right? What about you? What makes you different, and how can you use that to your advantage? Spielberg became enamored with storytelling, eventually applying to film school at the University of California. He was denied not once, but 3 times due to mediocre grades. He was accepted to another film school but dropped out to pursue his directing career. Can you imagine what would have happened if he took that to mean that he wasn't cut out to be a director? Have you failed at something and taken it to heart instead of trying again? Maybe this is your cue to give it another shot. Spielberg was also clever. A family friend arranged an interview for the young Spielberg with a man named Chuck Silvers, who worked in the editorial department of Universal Studios. Silvers was impressed with Spielberg's enthusiasm and knowledge about film, and would eventually help him get an unpaid clerical job at Universal in the summers between high school years. At that time, Silvers wrote him a temporary pass to the Universal Studios lot, but after the pass expired, Spielberg ingeniously managed to keep gaining access. According to him, he put on a black suit, carried a briefcase, and simply greeted the security guard as if he was meant to be there. Imagine if you walked into your next meeting with that level of confidence. As a result of his time on the Universal lot, he gained invaluable knowledge that went far beyond what any school could give him. After writing and directing a short film called Amblin, Spielberg was signed into a 7-year contract with Universal Studios at the age of 22, making him the youngest director to sign a long-term contract with a major studio in Hollywood. Spielberg directed some TV for the studio before being given the chance to direct a film for theatrical release called The Sugarland Express, which was released in 1974. The movie was well received by critics and became the jumping-off point for his career. He would go on to direct the 1975 blockbuster Jaws, which launched him into fame. One of his secrets to his success is, as he once said, "What I think is essential for filmmakers is to really learn how to see the scene first in your head, figure it out almost mathematically, and then go out and shoot it." This brought us not only unforgettable movie scenes, but sounds we will never forget that give us chills every time we hear them. Quite often, he used moments and events from his personal life to inspire movies. For example, he talks about how his parents' divorce was the inspiration of E.T. According to Spielberg, the film simply began as a divorce story and a childhood lost. He then stated that the alien in the story was a result of the constant presence of science fiction in his childhood through his father. And even when some films did not become huge successes, failure for Spielberg was not a life-defining result, but a learning moment. For example, despite suffering a critical flop with the film 1941, Spielberg persisted and used that learning experience to go on to direct iconic movies such as Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, and Saving Private Ryan. The Color Purple catapulted Spielberg into the dramatic genre with 11 Oscar nominations. He even used his earlier experiences of bullying as inspiration for movies like The Goonies. Each year, more and more hit movies kept coming, like Hook, AI Artificial Intelligence, Minority Report, and the legendary Jurassic Park movies. He continued his dramatic work with movies like War Horse, Bridge of Spies, Lincoln, and The Post. Spielberg's meteoric rise seems to have happened without much friction, but the reality is that he nurtured his creative impulses, wasn't afraid to fail, and worked tirelessly at his craft. His work ethic is legendary in Hollywood. And although his childhood wasn't easy, facing anti-Semitism, bullying, and loneliness, he was full of big ideas, resourceful, and had an obsession with telling stories that inspired and fueled the imagination of multiple generations. In his personal life, Spielberg is married to Kate Capshaw, having met her when she was cast in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. She is his second wife, and they have been married since 1991. They now live in multiple homes and have 7 children. His success from his movies have obviously led to incredible financial success. He is a multi-billionaire, owning hundreds of millions in real estate, mega yachts, art, and movie memorabilia. Spielberg says, "Sometimes a dream almost whispers, it never shouts. It can be very hard to hear. So you have to, every day of your life, be ready to hear what whispers in your ear." Are you ready to hear that whisper? Can you tune into your dreams and pay attention to what you really want? Spielberg used his films to wrestle with his fears and grow out of them. His unwavering passion for telling stories carried him to the top, in spite of all the challenges that he faced. Oh, and by the way, that school that rejected him 3 times, well, they ended up giving him an honorary doctorate 30 years later. So what did you learn from this journey? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Until then, fan the flames of your creativity and let your intuition guide you on your path to making your life a masterpiece. And don't let a few flops get in your way, and listen for those whispers in your ear.